On the verge of a full-blown political crisis, Zimbabweans hold their breath as a presidential poll challenge delays the inauguration. As the war of words between U.S. President Donald Trump and former aide and reality show star Omarosa Manigault escalates, some are raising concerns about possible White House security breaches. And Uganda calls for action as violence against children reaches alarming levels. Africa 54 starts right now.
Good evening, I'm Esther Githui in for Vincent Makori. This is Africa 54. Zimbabwe is a southern African nation known for its dramatic vistas and diverse wildlife. But today, the country's political landscape is drawing worldwide attention. The landlocked nation is at a tense standstill because the presidential inauguration has been delayed due to the opposition's legal challenge to the July 30th election results. Political observers are not entirely sure what to make of this moment in Zimbabwe's history. VOA's Anita Powell reports from Johannesburg.
All this anticipation over Zimbabwe's historic elections, but still no payoff. The declared victor, incumbent Emmerson Mnangagwa, who took over from Mugabe in November, still has not been inaugurated 2 weeks after the vote. Mnangagwa waits in limbo as the opposition Movement for Democratic Change Alliance challenges his narrow 50.8% win. They say MDC presidential candidate Nelson Chamisa, who officially got 44% of the vote, was the actual winner of the poll.
He is seeking a declaration to the effect that the presidential election was not properly conducted. It was not conducted in terms of the Constitution. It was not conducted in terms of the Electoral Act. It was not conducted in terms of standards of fairness, transparency, and accountability.
Under Robert Mugabe, the outcome of every poll was predictable. Over his decades of rule, Mugabe was accused, often and credibly, of vote rigging and intimidating voters. But for the first time in decades, even analysts say they are not quite sure how this will end.
It's a very precarious, situation, sort of like hanging over a cliff. Not very dangerously, but somehow dangerously, I think, and that's because of the uncertainty surrounding what will happen once the Constitutional Court has given its verdict.
What analysts say needs to happen is unlikely. Two men from different generations, different temperaments, and different ends of the political spectrum need to come together.
Politically, it is important for whoever wins to take bring in the other one on board. They may not want to do it, but there has to be some form of appeasement that would appeal to the general electorate and to the voters or the public that supports the loser.
Opposition supporters protested after the polls, saying the results were taking too long. 6 protesters were shot dead by security forces. Analysts hope Zimbabwe can move forward.
I said far in advance of the November 17 coup that this would be an election that wouldn't count. 2023 would count because the younger generation, which cut their teeth in the 2000s against the regime, are now gaining maturity, having experience, and if they can maintain a hold over the MDC and perhaps other opposition parties that might emerge, we will see a much different election.
But for now, right now, that may be cold comfort for this very divided nation. Anita Powell, VOA News, Johannesburg.
The South African government is once again dealing with allegations of graft. The nation's justice minister is launching a probe into the accusations that state attorneys defrauded the government of billions of dollars by deliberately losing cases in the latest crackdown on corruption under President Cyril Ramaphosa. Ramaphosa, who replaced former President Jacob Zuma in February, has made the fight against corruption a top priority of his administration as he seeks to restore investor confidence after the scandal-plagued Zuma era. In the health ministry, one of the departments most affected by the alleged fraud, totaling $4 billion, will be investigated. Justice Minister Michael Masuta told reporters Tuesday the investigation will help the department put to rest any concerns that have been raised. Masuta says disciplinary action as well as criminal investigations will be initiated against those involved to ensure that firm action is taken against corrupt activities. An Ethiopian court has freed 11 police officers on bail after they were detained on suspicion of negligence in a grenade attack on a rally in June attended by Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, according to the state-affiliated media Fana. The attack in Addis Ababa on June 23rd injured more than 150 and raised fears that a group or individual may want to use violence against Abiy, who has presided over a series of reforms and reconciled with longtime enemy and neighbor Eritrea since taking power in April. Among those freed on bail is the former Deputy Commissioner of Addis Ababa Police Commission, Girma Kassa. None of the police have been charged. Earlier this month, Ethiopian federal prosecutors said they had charged 5 suspects with involvement in the incident, including a man released from a prison under a government amnesty. Ugandan police have arrested 3 opposition lawmakers and scores of others after stones were thrown at a convoy of President Yoweri Museveni. Police spokesman Emirian Kayima says supporters of independent candidate Kassiano Wadri obstructed and attacked Museveni's convoy in the northern town of Arua late Monday, and one vehicle bearing the presidential coat of arms had its rear windscreen shattered. Among those arrested were 2 journalists and a lawmaker, Robert Changulanyi, known in the music world as Bobby Wine. Changulanyi says police shot at his vehicle and killed his driver during campaigning for a parliamentary by-election due to be held on Wednesday. Last year, Parliament removed an age limit from the Constitution that would have barred Museveni, 73, from seeking re-election in 2021. Now to a story that is garnering worldwide attention. Once again, the President of the United States is embroiled in a scandal. This time, it's with his former aide and reality show star Omarosa Manigault Newman, who is going public with recordings of conversations she had with Donald Trump and his chief of staff. Manigault Newman says she secretly recorded the audio, raising questions about possible security breaches at the White House. VOA's Patsy Widakuswara has the latest.
Omarosa Manigault Newman is among a handful of longtime Trump associates who went to work for him at the White House when he took office. She had known Trump for over a decade, appearing on his reality TV show The Apprentice. But in an interview with NBC's The Today Show, she says now all bets are off about her firing in December and time at the White House.
There's a lot of very corrupt things that are happening in the White House, and I am going to blow the whistle on a lot of it.
For a second straight day, the former Trump aide known as Omarosa revealed secret audio recordings she made at the White House. On Sunday, she released a recording of White House Chief of Staff John Kelly firing her in the Situation Room. On Monday, she made public another recording, claiming it proved Trump wasn't aware of her dismissal.
Nobody, you know, they run a big operation, but I didn't know it. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Damn it. I don't love you leaving at all.
The White House Situation Room is reserved for the nation's most sensitive and critical national security discussions. Aides attending meetings there are typically asked to set aside electronic devices before entering. Security analysts have raised alarm about a covert recording in such a secret room. In a statement, White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders said the recording was a blatant disregard for national security and denounced Omarosa as a disgruntled former employee lacking in character and integrity. Omarosa defended her action in an interview with NBC's Meet the Press.
I protected myself because this is a White House where everybody lies. The president lies to the American people. Sarah Huckabee stands in front of the country and lies every single day. You have to have your own back because otherwise you'll look back and you'll see 17 knives in your back.
Manigault Newman is promoting her new book, Unhinged, one highly critical of Trump and his White House. In her book, she claimed she was offered a $15,000 a month retainer to not criticize Trump. Trump's comment on Omarosa's book?
Lowlife. She's a lowlife.
Trump also attacked her on Twitter Monday morning, calling her wacky and vicious. Patsy Widakuswara, VOA News at the White House.
Police in London say a man deliberately crashed a car into a group of pedestrians and cyclists before slamming into a set of barriers outside of Britain's Houses of Parliament on Tuesday, causing a number of injuries. Parliament was not in session. Security camera footage released by the BBC shows the car turning abruptly off the roadway and steering onto a pedestrian walkway in front of the Parliament building before striking a barrier and coming to a stop. Police say they arrested the driver of the car, a man in his late 20s, at the scene on suspicion of terrorist offenses. They said there were no other people in the car and that they did not find any weapons. Assistant Police Commissioner Neil Basu says they are treating the incident as an act of terrorism. He also said there is no intelligence of further danger to Londoners or the rest of Britain. Investigators are now working to establish the identity of the suspect and his motives. According to Basu, the suspect is not cooperating with police. Now to the deadly bridge collapse in Italy. Authorities say at least 11 people died after a bridge carrying 10 vehicles collapsed Tuesday during an intense storm in the northern port city of Genoa. Video taken by motorists from the adjacent roadway shows a section of the bridge falling as onlookers cry out. Transport Minister Danilo Toninelli says he is following with great apprehension what seems like an immense tragedy. A fire service spokesperson told the French news agency AFP that the bridge had mostly fallen on rail tracks 100 meters below and that cars and trucks had fallen with the rubble. ANSA news agency reported that authorities suspect structural weakness caused the collapse of the bridge, which was built in the 1960s and underwent renovation in 2016. We want to know what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we cover. Join the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa 54. We're also streaming our show live on Facebook, so check us out and share our show with your friends. Still ahead on Africa 54, alarming findings from Uganda's violence against children report. But first, a look at Tuesday's headlines. And it's time now for our health report. And joining us now is Africa 54 health correspondent Lino Mudu with new information on violence against children. Lino?
That's right, Esther. But first, we start in West Africa and Mali, where villages in the Mondoro area of the Mopti region are battling a mysterious disease that is proving to be deadly. Inhabitants who have contracted the illness are isolated in a small area without access to adequate medical attention, causing an environment highly susceptible to the spread of disease. According to Doctors Without Borders and local health authorities, over 200 cases have been identified in the villages of Duna, Tigila, and Nyagasadu. Efforts are now underway to provide services and contain the disease. Joining us in the studio now is VOA Bambara reporter Modibo Dambele. Modibo, welcome to Africa 54.
Thank you very much.
So we seem to know a little more about this disease, this outbreak. Tell us, what are authorities saying?
I got a chance to interview the health official of Mondoro. Okay. Exactly, is based in Douentza. His name is Dr. Seydou Kante. According to him, insecurity and landmines are the main reason why the government was not able to provide food in those areas. And as a consequence, it caused a food shortage. Then people were not able to feed themselves properly. And beside this, the insecurity plus the ethnic violence between people who used to live together for many, many years, Fulani, Dogon, Bozo, and therefore it causes a lot of issues.
Okay, so basically, if I understand correctly, they are talking about malnutrition?
Yes, malnutrition. When people say that it is a mysterious disease, yes, according to Dr. Kante that I talked to him just 3 days ago, we cannot really say, according to local officials, especially the health official, it is caused by malnutrition.
So that's what they are saying for now. Nothing else has been identified.
Nothing else, because they went in Mondoro, I think it was last Sunday, if I remember. I don't remember exactly the day. And it was part of the delegation that went to see those areas affected. And we had some people from Mali Health Ministry and also the World Health Organization, some people, and it was part of the delegation. I think a report even has been issued. And according to him, as of now, 204 people have been affected. Okay. And they reported also 35 people dead. Yeah. And also 53 people has been hospitalized. But saying that we have some kind of mysterious disease, okay, according to him, that's not accurate.
All right, so leaning toward malnutrition. So as you said, you spoke to the chief of the district health unit, and you also spoke to the mayor. What are they telling you in terms of the steps that are being taken to tackle this?
Right now, the government is really doing what he can with his partner, local and international partner. And according to him, since Mondoro is located in Mopti, and everybody knows right now in Mali they are battling against a huge insecurity because of those terrorist threat. So they are using the airways, especially using helicopter to provide food. And that has been confirmed by the mayor of Mondoro. His name is El Haj. He said as of now, the day I talked to him, the first provision for food came, and they were expecting to get another one in the upcoming days. And also, Mali is trying to see with his international partner how they can also restore, you know, the roads, because Mopti being located between like the north and the south, so it's kind of difficult.
It's landlocked.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's kind of difficult to really provide only food by air.
Okay. Well, Modibo, thank you so much for the report, and we'll definitely keep an eye on it. We appreciate your time.
My pleasure.
And that was Modibo Dambele. He's a VOA Bambara reporter. We remain in West Africa, where women in rural Nigeria are battling with a medical condition that causes incontinence. For 4 years, Nigerian Mariam Saraki has been unable to hold back urine after a complicated labor led to a fistula. Feeling ashamed and isolated, the medical issue has cost her a husband and a community.
Sincerely, I cannot sit amongst other people because of the stigma associated with the smell. I have been suffering from this condition for 3 years. I am always bathing and washing myself to stop the smell. A lot of women suffer from this ailment. They just sit and leak.
Fistula is a hole between the birth canal and the bladder or rectum. Saraki developed the disease after spending 4 days in labor trying to deliver her second child. The condition causes urinal and fecal incontinence. Although fistula has long been eradicated in developed countries, it still affects around 2 million women worldwide, mostly in Africa. The United Nations Population Fund is running a 2-week campaign in the northeastern Nigerian city of Maiduguri, aiming to put an end to fistula. Surgeons have arrived from France to help their Nigerian counterparts with the procedures. Working with the Nigeria Fistula Foundation, doctors are screening women and have operated on 51 of the 154 patients who registered to be treated. Sunday Ilengmang is among the team of visiting surgeons.
Over 98% of the cases that we saw were as a result of prolonged obstructed labor. So the prevention has to do also with the things that lead to prolonged obstructed labor. First, we need to catch them young, because when girls get pregnant before the age of 18, whether in marriage or out of marriage, there is the increased tendency that they could have prolonged obstructed labor.
19-year-old Rukaya Abubakar has had fistula for 3 years. She got married at 16 and had 2 stillbirths due to prolonged labor. She was able to receive much-needed treatment during the medical camp.
By the special grace of Allah, it is His will. This sickness came and has also gone. It is His will that it has gone permanently. I am grateful to Allah.
We're working at the community level by working with members of the community, by training community mobilizers to mobilize the community, capable of educating women to understand the importance of birth preparedness, understand the importance of hospital delivery, and also educate men to support their wives during pregnancy and childbirth.
The UN Population Fund team is expected to return in the near future as they look to cut fistula cases in Nigeria. Now to Uganda, where a recently released report reveals that 3 in 4 young adults experience some form of violence during their childhood, according to the first ever Uganda Violence Against Children survey. Among the findings, the survey highlights that violence against children occurs at all levels of society, such as homes, schools, and communities. Survivors suffer negative physical, mental, social, and cognitive consequences. Uganda is the latest among several countries worldwide that have conducted similar violence against children surveys. The Ugandan survey was conducted by its Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development with support from partners such as AfriChild Center for Excellence, the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, and UNICEF. And that's our health report for today. To stay in touch, find me on Twitter @LenorMoudou. Esther, back to you.
Thanks, Lino. Be sure to watch Lino Moudou's health reports every Tuesday and Thursday on Africa 54. And welcome back to Africa 54. Here's what's trending. The world's first commercially available 3D printed concrete housing is being built in the Netherlands. The consortium building the houses previously created the world's first 3D printed concrete bridge for cyclists in the village of Gemet. The team starts with a digital 3 model which is sent through to the 3D printer and printed from bottom to top, layer by layer, without any temporary support or form work until the object is complete. The technique is said to be more environmentally friendly than the traditional concrete construction methods because almost all construction-related waste is eliminated. Next up, charcoal is becoming the new black as it gains traction as a food additive, often made from burning coconut shells or bamboo. Adding activated charcoal powder to foods has captured the attention of social media. Charcoal doesn't seem to change the taste of food, but it can affect the texture. But is eating charcoal safe? Doctors do prescribe activated charcoal to treat poisoning and overdoses, but they say eating too much on your own can cause severe constipation and other health problems. And finally, they tried the 3D glasses, they tried wobbling chairs and spouts of water. Cinema's latest effort to tempt audiences from their sofas is a multi-projector panoramic experience called ScreenX. UK-based Cinema World Group has announced plans to install the new screen tech across 100 theaters in Britain, the US, and further afield. It's more sustainable for fast-moving action movies rather than romantic comedies. One challenge may be the lack of content. Film crews must use special camera setups to capture the wide-angle footage required for ScreenX presentations. And that's what's trending today. Now, one of the oldest zoos in the U.S., the Chicago Lincoln Park Zoo, is celebrating a big milestone, its 150th anniversary. The zoo opened in 1868 with just 2 pairs of swans. The zoo has a considerably larger collection today, but its priorities have not changed that much. As Roman Vakovsky reports, the zoo remains focused on conservation preserving rare species, organizing educational programs, and setting an example for future generations of animal lovers.
The history of Chicago's Lincoln Park Zoo started 150 years ago with a gracious gift from New York City officials.
When the commissioners of the Board of Public Works of the city of Chicago received a gift of 2 pairs of swans from the commissioners of Central Park in New York City. The gift was actually arranged by 2 brothers, a man named Andrew Green, who is quite famous for starting a lot of the famous cultural institutions in New York City, and his brother, who is working for the Illinois-Michigan Canal.
The swans appear to have brought the zoo good luck. Today, their descendants still float gracefully in the zoo's pond, but there's a lot more to see. Spread across 5 square kilometers, the Lincoln Park Zoo boasts a spacious pool for sea lions, big pavilions for predators, and giant spaces for herbivores. With more than 200 different species of animals on display, it's a popular attraction that draws about 3 million visitors each year.
Hi, yeah, I do visit the zoo often, and we live in Chicago, and I wasn't aware that it was the anniversary, so that's fantastic.
But with the Earth's climate changing and the loss of natural habitats, many of the animal species on display are fighting for their survival.
This species of penguins, African penguins, are endangered in the wild, and we're part of a species survival plan working with other zoos to support the population. And so that's really good news here. When we had that chick born, he's about 4 months now, and he's already almost as big as his parents.
A lot of people believe penguins only live in the icy Antarctic, but these little ones come from South Africa. Chicago's climate is very similar to where they come from, so the birds feel right at home with the windy city's snowy winters and warm summers.
But I think this is one of the best enclosures for penguins I've seen yet.
So the zoo has always been free since it was started as a civic park. The question came up early in the zoo's history, sometime in the 1870s, of whether we should start charging for some buildings to sort of maintain and pay for the animals' upkeep. The commissioners in the 1870s decided no, it would always remain free.
A lot has changed at Lincoln Park Zoo over the last century and a half, but some things remain the same. For visitors and animal researchers, it's a place to appreciate nature and cherish the wildlife that live among us. For Aman Verkhovsky in Chicago, I'm Anna Rice, VOA News.
And that's our show for today. Be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. For more news, tune into VOA's evening radio show, Africa News Tonight, at 1800 UTC, and in the mornings to Daybreak Africa between 0300 and 0600 Monday through Friday. Thanks for watching, and good night from Washington.
Welcome to English in a Minute. When you slip, you fall down. But how does something slip from your mind?
Slip one's mind.
Let's listen to Anna and Jonathan.
Look at this beautiful cake I made for the dinner party.
Oh no, is that tonight?
Yes? Didn't you make something?
No, it totally slipped